Hey guys, welcome back to today's video, and today we're going to be doing another 2024 presidential election prediction. And the Democratic nominee is Claire McCaskill. If you do not know who she is the former senator from Missouri. She lost her Senate seat to Josh Hawley when she was running for re-election. Um, But yeah, she's also auditor for Missouri, but she was a Democratic Missouri senator. She's does stuff on NBC News now. And Donald Trump obviously is a former president. And Clary McCaskill, I think she would be above average for a Democratic nominee in 2024, but I do not think she'd be anything too special. I don't think that she would win in a landslide. I do think, well, I just don't think if she will win, I just don't think she would win in a large margin. I do think it'd be close. Claire McCaskill, I do think she would do better with more independent voters and moderate voters. I think. She's not gonna make the like the. I think the she is. I think she would make the establishment happy, but the thing is, I do not think she would do well with a lot of big, progressive left wing voters and stuff like that. So that is an issue. But I do think she'd be a good candidate to appeal to people outside of the party. But safe states, Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine, the second district. Safe states for Trump. Wait, let me do Hawaii and DC. Safe states for Trump: Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska. Nebraska, I think that the second district, the second district in Nebraska, I think I'll give I think I'll give a lean to Trump because I do think Clary McCaskill can have some appeal there, but not that much for her to win. Kansas, I would say safe. Oklahoma, likely in Texas, just not really because of Clary McCaskill, but just the political scenery there. Trump would still win by 9 points. Um, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, I'm going to put likely because Clary McCaskill, that is her home state, and I do think she can have some appeal there. So I'm going to give that to her in a likely margin. I do think Trump would still easily win though. And Iowa also, I think, would still be a safe state for Trump. Iowa could be likely, but I do think it would just stay safe. Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida. Florida would be likely. I don't see it being safe. Indiana and West Virginia. And Ohio, I'm going to put likely too, because I do think Claire McCaskill can have some appeal there too. But yeah, the swing states I think would be Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota wouldn't be that much of a swing state. Wisconsin, Michigan, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. And let's start with Minnesota. I think Clary McCaskill will win Minnesota by a safe margin, though. I think Clary McCaskill is a good candidate because she might not do. She would do well in some areas outside of Minneapolis. I'm not saying she would do well, but that well. But I would say she can have some appeal outside of the metro, but not that much appeal. So I think that I'll just give it her safe margin. I just wanted to say that. I would say 10 or 11 points. Clary McCaskill win Minnesota. It could be a likely margin too. That would be pretty likely. I mean, that could happen. I mean, but I do think Clary McCaskill win by safe margin. And Wisconsin, I think is a hard one because Clary McCaskill, even though I said she'd do well with some more moderate voters, I do think Donald Trump would win in Wisconsin by a lean margin. I just do not see Clary McCaskill winning Wisconsin. I think I'm going to make it tilt for Trump, though, because she might have some appeal. I just see her having some appeal in Wisconsin. But I do think Trump overall would have more appeal with a lot of conservative, some moderates that lean to the Republican Party, and just a lot of white voters in Wisconsin specifically. I think Donald Trump would do well with in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is probably one of the most conservative Rust Belt states as well. And I don't see Clary McCaskill with the voters in Wisconsin. I don't see her doing that well. Um, but yeah, that's all I think I have to say for Wisconsin. But I don't know, Clary McCaskill. I don't. The people she would appeal to in Wisconsin. I don't know. Like, it's I don't know how to explain it, but I still see Clary McCaskill winning. And I think Michigan, I'm going to give to Claire McCaskill in a lean margin, 2 3 points, like the same margin as Biden did. Claire McCaskill, I think, would do well in Michigan. I feel like, you know, the Michigan GOP is in shambles, I think. They are really in a bad state right now. And it is obviously the most democratic blue collar state, I would say, in my opinion. Um, I do think Claire McCaskill will do well in some suburbs. I think Donald Trump would win the suburbs overall, though. But I do think Claire McCaskill can win some suburbs better than normal Democrats. Even though I think Donald Trump will win them overall, she'll do well with a lot of traditional Democratic voters. She might a lot of people that like Christian Whitmer, I do think would also like Clary McCaskill. Um, so I'm gonna have to give that to her in a lean margin. New Hampshire, I'm gonna have to say lean margin too, or lean or tilt. Well, not. I'm gonna say likely margin. Clary McCaskill, I see doing well with a lot of voters in New Hampshire. She is like, I don't know. I feel like she would have a lot in common. I don't know how to really say it though, but there's the left. New Hampshire, I think, is filled with a lot of left center Democrats and progressives. So I'm gonna have to give it to her in a likely margin because Clary McCaskill would appeal to left center. And also, I think I didn't know if I said this, but Michigan, I think she would appeal to a lot of left center voters there. And in Pennsylvania, I think Clary McCaskill would win by a tilt margin. I think this would be a very close one. But I do think Clary McCaskill again would win a lot of moderates in Pennsylvania type moderates because maybe if you think about it a little, a lot of moderates from Missouri are somewhat similar to moderates in Pennsylvania. But I do think Trump would do well in the rural areas. But Clary McCaskill, she would do terrible in the rural areas, but better than a normal Democrat because all Democrats do bad in rural areas. And if that makes sense, Clary McCaskill would do somewhat well. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm getting off track. But Donald Trump, I do think would do well in rural areas, that's why I'm giving it to him in a tilt margin. But Clary McCaskill, I do think would be able to win Pennsylvania. I do think that she would win like a lot of those what should I call it? I don't know. I don't know. The GOP in Pennsylvania also is a mess, and I just don't see a lot of. I feel like Claire McCaskill would be able for a lot of Biden 2020 people that voted for Biden in 2020. She would be able to get those voters still on with her, and a lot of those voters, if it wasn't for a different Democratic nominee, I would say would vote for Donald Trump. But swing voters that voted for Biden in 2020, I think Claire McCaskill would be able to hold them with also appealing to more group. Well, sorry, with also appealing to some other groups more than Biden. But I do think she would win Pennsylvania by a tilt margin. And next up, I do not see Claire McCaskill doing that well with the minority vote. So that's why I'm going to be giving North Carolina and Georgia. Obviously, she will win the minority vote, but there's nothing special about her, and there's nothing a lot about her that would get a lot of the minority vote to go out and get out and vote for her. You know, I just don't see her doing that well. I just don't. With the minority vote, she wouldn't do well, and obviously, the minority vote in North Carolina, Georgia, makes the Democrats win elections there. That is obviously why they win. And maybe Georgia could be tilt. Claire McCaskill won't do terrible with minority votes, but I don't think there'll be anything to swing these two states. Because Claire McCaskill, she can be seen as a more establishment candidate, you could say maybe, and I don't think a lot of people in Southerns like that. So I'm gonna have to give that to Donald Trump. Not a lot to say about these states. Donald Trump, you know, I see, yeah. And Arizona and Nevada, I think Clary McCaskill would win Arizona by a tilt margin because I see a lot of suburban moms in Arizona liking Clary McCaskill. I do think that she could appeal to a lot of voters there. I see her doing well in a state like Arizona where it's more moderate. Arizona, I would have if I had to put it on the political spectrum, I would say it would be moderate or left center because Arizona has become a politically very different state now over the past couple of years. So I'm gonna have to give Claire McCaskill Arizona by tilt. I do think she would do somewhat well there. And Nevada, this is a hard one. I Donald Trump, I think this would be a very close one. I'll have to give it to Claire McCaskill. I think if Hillary Clinton could have won it in 2016, Claire McCaskill could. So I'm gonna have to say tilt margin though, because I do think Donald Trump would do better in Nevada this year. But I'll say if Hillary Clinton could win it, I think Claire McCaskill would. She would do. I think she would be barely to hold it, and I could see some voters liking her in Nevada. But this is the map overall. Claire McCaskill would barely win. I think the popular vote. I think she would only win by 2 points or 1 point. I do think this would be a very close one. Claire McCaskill has 276 electoral votes, and Donald Trump has 222. Um, but yeah, I do think Claire McCaskill is an above average Democratic nominee in 2024 and would do better. But I don't think she's anything too special, and she wouldn't make it a landslide. I think she would be barely. She's just like it's basically kind of like she would barely help the Democrats win. I do think she would do well with moderates and left center Democrats, and a lot of voters that voted for Biden in 2020, but then don't like Biden anymore. I do think she would be able to make them vote for her again, and she would do well with some white moms, if that makes sense, and somewhat in the suburbs against Donald Trump. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me if you agree with me in the comments down below. I'm sorry I haven't posted that much. I made an election night and I scheduled that video. But I was on a missions trip for 3 days and then I was really tired after that. So a lot has happened. I did do a live stream though, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys again soon.